Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our today's webinar to talk about tools and utility apps. Thank you for tuning in with us today. So today we have prepared a lot of content to share with all of you guys. So first of all, let me share with you guys the speakers that we will be having today. Next slide. So today we have Sandy Chen, who joined us from our Google Play operations team. Sandy is the regional Greater Channel leads on the Google Play operations team. So she will be sharing us more details on Google Play policy and then how you and help answering any questions when you have. And we will also be having Olivia Chen, who is our analytic lead from the Greater China team, to share with you the tools and utilities vertical insights. Together with Neil Sapp, our senior international growth consultant, who will be sharing with us the deep dive on tools and utilities vertical and then some of the growth opportunities. And we will also be having myself, Harry Tan, growth manager from the AppDev Southeast Asia team, together with Chi, a growth manager from AppDev Southeast Asia team as well, to share with you more insights on how you could utilize the Google Ads solution to scale your tools and utility apps. So without further ado, let me pass the mic to Neil and Olivia, who will be sharing with us more details on the tools and utilities vertical insights.
All right. Thank you so much, Harry. I hope you guys can hear me all well and clear. This is Neil here, and with me is Olivia. And today we're going to talk a bit about the vertical and market opportunities in the tools and utilities vertical. So the first thing is I just want to share a quick overview of what markets are big in this vertical and what markets are growing. So over here, you see a very complicated chart. How to look at this is on this axis, we have downloads, and below we have IAP revenue. Now, this IAP revenue is only in-app purchase revenue. It does not include ad revenue. What we see is for every country, you will see two circles. Now, the dark circle is for the first half of 2021, and the light circle is for the second half of 2020. We want to compare both the halves. And also we see is the size of the circle is the ARPD, which is average revenue per download, basically average revenue per user. So what we have here is on a general trend, what we see is the circles are fairly aligned. This means that the number of downloads is not growing as much, one half of the year to the other. But what we see is there's a substantial growth in revenue. Now, I have selected 4 markets that we're going to have a quick look at. The first one is the US. The US is the largest market as far as the tools and utilities vertical is concerned. It's fairly big in downloads, and it is the largest in terms of IAP revenue. Now, what we see from last year's half to this year's half is that there's a slight increase in downloads, or basically there is no increase in downloads, but what we see is a substantial increase in IAP revenue. What we also see is the size of the circle has increased. This means that the average revenue per download or per user is getting larger. This is very good because this means every user is contributing more value to publishers. Other than the US, we see the UK or Great Britain also seeing a similar trend wherein the size of the circle is bigger as well as the revenue is growing really fast. We also see that it's actually the second largest market as far as tools and utilities vertical is concerned. Finally, the 2 other markets that I've focused on is India and Indonesia. In India, we see that there is a slight increase in downloads, but a slight drop in revenue. On Indonesia, it's the other way around. We see a slight increase in revenue, but a slight drop in downloads. But the interesting point is that these 2 markets, in terms of absolute downloads, are the largest in the world. So later on, we'll be trying to focus on these 4 markets, and I'll provide more insights. Meanwhile, I'll pass it on to Olivia to talk a bit about other sub-verticals.
So after we have an overview of the market, we could go deep dive of the subgenres of tools. So in general, the global tools apps continue to accelerate since 2018. Even in the first half of 2021, we could see that we already achieved 80% of 2020's revenue. So that means tools apps accelerate recently. So if we look into the subgenres, we could see that VPN, which is the network connectivities, file managers, and scanners are top genres in terms of the market share and also the growth rate. We also could find that privacy and security tools has fast growth rate, and the market size is continue increasing. So while the current market size is not that big. So this is the subgenre. So we will deep dive the VPN, file managers, and scanner later to see how we can enter the subgenres and the markets. So we will have a look at the VPN first. So on the left side is the weekly IP revenue trend, and on the right side is the weekly downloads trend. And the blue lines is the iOS, and the green lines is the Android. So the first we could see that for the IP revenue trends, the overall Android keeps the same with the last year, but the iOS revenue continues to grow, which means we should focus more on high quality users in their iOS platform. And on the right side, we could see that Android has been increasing sharply from the year begin, which means our user acquisition still have great potential under VPN genre. And after we have seen the growth, we could look at the market size. We have broke down the market size into revenue, download, and also market priority. So let me introduce the market priority first. So what does market priority mean? So it uses the average revenue per user to divide it by the cost per install. That means these index could help you show the market profitability. So under this view, we would know that Indonesia, India, and the US still the largest download share, but the revenue is majority driven by the US market. And also, if we recommend for the market priority, so we will suggest the US, Great Britain, and Middle East because they are prioritized markets, considering both high monetization ability and relatively low user acquisition cost. And also, finally, so we think that the core T1 markets, such as the European markets and also Canada, Australia, are our second choices because they have relatively large revenue share and download share. So after the market size, if we look at the retention, we will know that which market has long-term retention and which market we need to focus in the first week or first several days. So on the right side, we could see on average, VPN retention, day 2 retention is 28% and day 7 retention is 11%. And on the left side, we have broke down the retention rate into several markets, and we could see that the blue line, which is Indonesia, has much higher retention rate than other markets. That means Indonesia has both a large amount of the VPN users and also they are stable. So when they enter the VPN, and another is in India, Australia, and Japan users churn a lot after the 1 week. That means we should focus to convert more purchases within 1 week, or we need to make our users alive more after the week. So finally, the North America, such as US and Canada, has much lower long-term retention rate. That means our strategy should put more focus in the first week to keep our users engaged with our VPN apps. So after that, we will go into the life cycle part. So we know that the VPN life cycle is very long. So we could see that the blue line is the accumulated downloads for the whole genre. We could see that downloads is stably increasing in the first 8 to 9 years and even increase after the 10 years. And also we could see in the gray area is our weekly active users. And weekly active users is stable across the whole life cycle. That means this genre could be alive much longer than any other apps. So if we give some suggestions on the VPN summary, we could have three top of mind. The first one is North America has high monetization ability and profitability, but we should focus more on the first week because most of the users will churn after 1 week. Another one is Middle East. It has high profitability with fast growth, but current market size is relatively small, and also the user acquisition is not that big. We should put an eye on it. And finally, our focus is Indonesia. So based on our findings, Indonesia has both a large VPN user base and they are very stable. They could be live long in this VPN app. So we should keep more users engaged with the app. So this is all our suggestions for the markets.
So yeah, talking about Indonesia, Olivia mentioned that it's a very important market. I'm just going to share a couple of localization and user acquisition tips. So if you look at the market in general, there's 200 million mobile users, and we have around 42% of YouTube coverage, which means around 83% users use YouTube. The most popular tech asset type is actually text. It means a lot of people click on text ads compared to others. This is fairly consistent for the tools and utilities vertical, especially in Google. As far as videos is concerned, the duration is 6 to 10 seconds. And if we look at languages, I found the most interesting thing was 85% of users in Indonesia, of course, use Bahasa Indonesia in their phones as well as Google search to search, but 14% use English. So there's actually a very, very big scope also to use some English creatives. At the same time, we need to be careful because we have seen that a lot of markets in Southeast Asia as well as China are heavily impacted if we don't translate text of creative assets. One interesting fact I found over here was that Indonesians on average are the highest users of Android apps in the world, and the average time spent is almost around 5 hours per day. So this makes it the highest. One very interesting fact as far as creative text assets is associated is Google doesn't allow you to have a lot of characters. So it's okay to use acronyms in certain cases. It's a fairly accepted practice to use acronyms for your text creatives.
So next, we will go into the scanner. So the same analysis structure. So the first, we will see the scanner growth. And we will see that Android has been increasing sharply from the 2020, the second half of the year, and continued in 2021. So which we still think that the user acquisition still have the great potential. And also we could see the iOS keeps constant downloads, but iOS revenue continues to grow, which is aligned also the same with the VPN. So which means we should also focus more on the high quality users. And if we look at the market size of scanner, we have several suggestions here. So India, US, and Brazil have the largest downloads, but the revenue is majority driven by the US and the Japan markets. And also, if we give the market priority based on our definition, we would suggest that the US and the core T1 markets, such as Canada, Great Britain, Australia, and Japan, are prioritized markets because they can earn more money on each user. So also, we will look into the retention rate. So on the right side, we could see that overall scanner apps has much lower retention rate than other apps. So the day 2 retention is only 40% and day 7 is only 5%. So that means we should focus more on the user acquisition and how to engage our user within our apps. So, but under this scenario, India still has high retention rate under scanner apps. That means India has both the large portion of the scanner users and also they could keeping these scanner apps for a long time. And Australia has higher long-term retention rate, which means that we can monetize and earn money. So from the long-term view, not just focus on the first or several days. And also North America has much lower long-term retention rate, which is the same with the VPN apps. So if we look at the scanner life cycle, we could see that it is still a long-term life cycle genre, and the downloads are stably increasing since the first 5 to 6 years. And after 6 years, it may has increased very slowly. And weekly active user is also relatively stable during the the whole launch stage. So the overall weekly active user is relatively small than, for example, the natural connectivity or other tools. So if we want to give a quick summary on the scanner, so the first one is still the North America is our first prioritized markets because it has high monetization ability and profitability. And another one is our core T1 markets, for example, the European countries, Germany, France, UK, or Japan, because they still have the high monetization ability. And for the France, it has the great long-term retention rate, which means we can earn money a longer time. So another one is India. So if we remember, India has the highest downloads and also have the highest retention rate, which means we have stable scanner user base in India, and we should keep more user engaged with app. And also the user acquisition in India is very important.
So just now, Olivia mentioned that India is an important market for scanners. So let's take a quick deep dive into this market. So number of mobile users is huge, 760 million, 95% use Android. So it's an Android first market, and there's more than 200 million YouTube users. One interesting point is YouTube is a very important medium of discovery, product discovery. A lot of Indians, if they want to look for tools, utilities, and any sort of information, they always also go to YouTube other than Google search. So it's important to be out there on YouTube and connect with relevant KOLs or make tutorial videos on YouTube. Another interesting point about India is the language issue, right? Most of the phones are in English, but not every user is able to speak English. And hence, I've suggested a few languages over here that you can localize your creative assets as well as your app into, depending on the region that you want to focus on. Now, what makes India different? There's a couple of interesting points. So as you all might have heard last year, some very major tool and utility apps such as ShareIt, Cam Scanner, CleanMaster were banned in the Indian market. And this left a huge hole and a very big opportunity for new entrants and new apps to go into the market. So hence, it's very attractive to go into the markets because not only are there new users hungry for tools and utility apps, but also the CPI is fairly low compared to what it was about a year ago. Finally, what I checked is the best-selling smartphone in India is the Xiaomi Redmi 8. It comes with some very powerful specs, and it's a very cheap phone in India. So please understand that this significantly reduces the need for battery saving and cache cleaning apps, which was one of the major categories in India, say 2-3 years ago when the phones were much more weaker.
So finally, we will go into the file managers. So to have the quick view, so it's a little bit different from the other two subgenres. So Android still has been increasing stably, but not that sharply from the last year. And both Android and iOS revenue continue to grow, which means under file managers, we should focus more on acquire high quality users. And if we look into the market size, so we can see the market priority first. So the polarization is very serious. So the US, Great Britain, and Japan has very high prioritized, and considering that both they can profit more on each user than other markets. So if we come back to the revenue and downloads share, we could see that still in India and in Indonesia are the largest downloads, and also the revenue is majority driven by the core T1 or developed market. So still we have the similar suggestion here. So core T1 markets, European countries, and Australia are our second choices after the US and Great Britain. So if we look at the retention, so on the right side, we can have on average, our day 2 retention is 23% and day 7 retention is 11%, which is the similar with other Choose apps. And if we look into the different markets, we can know that India, France, and Russia have higher retention rate among all markets, which means we could acquire more users in these markets because they are loyal to our file managers apps. And Brazil users churn a lot after day 2, which means how to make our users engage with our app and keep the users in our file manager apps should be considered under Brazil. And still, US has much lower long-term retention rate as similar with the previous. And also, if we look at the life cycle for the file managers, still a long-term life cycle Yanros, but not that, for example, above 10 years. It just, for example, to 7 years. And the weekly active user is still relatively stable, even after the 5 years. So that means the file managers users have large portion under all of the markets. So if we give a quick summary of file managers, so besides the United States and the core T1 markets, we already said that it has high monetization ability and profitability. We will suggest several other countries. The first one is Mexico. So it has high downloads and high retention rate, but currently the market size is very small and also the user acquisition cost is very low. So we could keep an eye on it. And another one is the Southeast Asia, so which, for example, the Thailand, the Philippines. So it has relatively high downloads and the retention rate is great. So we could also acquire some users from there. And also we have the Brazil and Indonesia, so which we should focus more on the retention because a lot of users churn a lot after several days. How to engage this user into our apps is the one thing if we want to enter this market. So under all file managers, the United States and the Great Britain is the two markets, the two mandatory markets we should suggest because it has high monetization and profitability. It also have a large portion of users, and so we will suggest these two markets as our first prioritized markets.
Cool. So we can just do a quick deep dive on the couple of markets that were just suggested, which is the US and the UK. So in the US, mobile users percentage is very huge with 240 million, around 200 million YouTube users, and the iOS share is 55%. So that's a very interesting point versus Android. Now, one thing is in terms of user acquisition, we suggest to enhance diversity and individual expression in creatives as far as the US is concerned. And one very interesting thing that we saw in the US is 8% of the US users use their phones and search in Spanish. So it's an underused language as far as user acquisition is concerned. So if you have Spanish language creatives, it would be an interesting experiment to run that in the US. Now, a couple of points, what makes the US different is that we see there's a huge rise in in-app revenue, and that is mainly driven by subscriptions. So a lot of apps, tools and utilities apps, they run iOS campaigns for iOS apps in the US, and they're all built on subscription-based monetization, and these have been fairly successful. Another trend that we see is recurring purchases rather than one-time purchase is the majority now. So previously it was one user, they used to install the app, purchase once, and then churn out. But now we see a single user making multiple payments and multiple transactions. So that's become a very, very growing factor. That means it's very important to retain this user, keep this user engaged because they're more likely to pay more and more. The second thing we want to see is in the UK. So we see the YouTube user share is extremely high, which is almost 84%. It's also iOS, Android is around 50-50. And if we had to give one tip on text assets is to use as many verbs as possible. Verbs such as convert, smart, improve, as well as adjectives such as useful, simple, instant. So what we've seen in tools and utilities is the more adjectives and verbs you include in a sentence for user acquisition, the more likely it is to convert. So the conversion rate might be higher. One thing to be careful about, though, is that there are differences between the spellings of American English and British English. So please make sure you are aware of this and you cater to UK English as well. The best possible option would be to give the users an option to select British English or American English, depending on their choice. Now, a very interesting graph I saw the other day was the share of subscription in mobile apps for Q2 2020 is we see that utilities is number 4 with 10%. So we see utility apps having a lot of subscriptions, as I've mentioned over here. One quick fact about the UK is that it's the most important market in the EU. As Olivia also mentioned previously, it's a very important and major market, and they are very, very conscious of privacy. So you might have heard about GDPR, etc. So it's very important to be extra precautious when entering into the UK market. Finally, we have a couple of quick takeaway points for you all. So if we look at the US and UK as combined markets for tools and utilities, we see there's a heavy focus on IAP monetization. So I've given a 6 sub verticals that I've split into must have, consider, and niche verticals. In must have, we see printers and scanners, as well as VPN apps having an average revenue per user of around $1.3. These are top 2 apps. I just wanted to give the app name so you all know what this vertical means and what this vertical stands for. And we see a fairly stable year-on-year revenue growth. When we come to these 2 interesting verticals, which is remote control, we see a low ARPD. One of the reasons could be there's a lot of in-app ads that are going on. And the year-over-year revenue growth is extremely high, which is around 288%. As far as screencasting is concerned, we see an average ARPD and an average growth. And then finally, we have the niche verticals. So in the US, location tracking has become a very, very big thing. This helps you connect with your neighbors, neighborhood, as well as keep a track on your children, etc. So there's this app Life 360, which is a fairly big outlier and a very big app over here. And then finally, we have privacy and security tools. These have been out there, but these are still very important in these markets. Next, we come to a couple of other markets, which is India and Indonesia. And these are mainly focused on IAA monetization, which is in-app ads. So they're funded by ads. And over here in must have, we have VPN apps as well as downloads and file sharing. So over here, I have put the eCPMs, which is high, medium, or low. So for VPN, we see a very high eCPM and an extremely high year-on-year download growth. So VPN apps look very promising in these 2 countries. As far as downloads and file sharing is concerned, the eCPM is a bit low, but the top app here is ShareIt, and it's not available in India, but even then Indonesia showed 82 million downloads. So clearly there's a lot of demand over there. As far as Consider is concerned, we're talking about barcode scanners, those that let you scan a QR code, not necessarily those that allow you to take a picture and scan files. So those are actually in high demand because now I guess everything you need to scan a lot of QR codes around you, and antivirus still remain an important vertical even now. Finally, in niche, there's a couple of very interesting sub verticals. One is task and app management. So in here we have one Booster, which hasn't shown a lot of year-on-year download growth, this vertical, but we see a medium eCPM. Finally, screen capturing tools. I think there's a lot of Southeast Asian developers that are trying into several screen capturing tool apps, and we see that there's some promise over here. The growth is healthy, but the eCPM is slightly low. So these are just some ideas that we want to give you all so that you might think if you want to develop new apps in new verticals, these are the way that you could go. With this, I'm going to pass it on to Harry, back to Harry, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, everyone. And thanks, Neil and Olivia, for sharing. So right now, you should have more insights on the tools and utilities vertical and some ideas for your next big hit apps. So next, let me invite Chi to the live stream to share with you more details on what type of user acquisition solutions you could use to scale your mobile apps.
Thanks, Harry, for introduction. Hi, everyone. Hi, the tools and utilities developers. My name is Chi, and I'm in charge of the tools and utilities book in Southeast Asia. And today, together with Harry, I would like to share with you how to run the user acquisition effectively with Google. So let's get started. As all of us already know that we are working in the app industry. So the most important goal is to drive the app usage, right? And Google offers the best solution for app promote, which is App Campaigns. And you also might know with the name UAC before, Universal App Campaign. It's easy to set up, simple to manage, and effective at driving results because you know that it only focuses on driving the app usage. This is the smart campaign. So you don't have to put the age or the interest or the keywords, or you have to choose the channels where the ads will be delivered. What you need to do is to set up the campaign with a set, including text, image, and videos. Then the system will do the rest for you. And you can see that together with the access you add to the campaign, the system will get the metadata from the app listing in your store. For example, the app icon, the description, or the screenshot to create a great ad for you and deliver it to different networks in Google. So you can see that the Google inventories is very large, including Google Search, Play Store, or YouTube. So you can be confident with us because we already cover all of the inventories Google has. And within the app promote, there are many types of campaign. But so far we have seen that we only use the install campaign. So today I would like to show you more options that you can choose. So to hit your marketing goal, first, we need to align our product and marketing strategy to our app life cycle. And you can see that there are 3 phases. The first one is pre-launch, the second one is growth, and the last one is maturity. And for each phase, we have different missions and followed by different types of campaign to choose. And for the pre-launch phase, our mission is to raise the quality bar and reduce the risk when we start launching campaigns immediately. We are afraid that at that time it's too late for us to introduce the app to the users. So Google offer a type of campaign which is pre-registration. And for the growth rate, this is the most important phase in our app life cycle. The mission is to scale and accelerate. So the more users we can acquire during this phase, the better, right? And with this phase, we have some types of campaigns that we can choose from, which are install campaign, action campaign, maximize conversation, and target ROAS. No worry, we will go into detail for each type of campaigns, how to run effectively, how to set up later on. So this is just the overview first. And the last phase is the maturity. The mission of this phase is to focus on the value and keep loyal users. With this, Google has engagement campaign. I don't know if you have heard before the engagement campaign. This is the campaign retargeting those users who already have our app installed. It's different from the other campaigns because for other campaigns, it's only focused on the new users. It means that the users haven't had the app in their device yet. But for engagement campaign, which is campaign targeting towards the users who already have the app in their device. However, as we've seen and working in the tools and utilities industry for a very long time, and we can see that most of us only run install campaign, which is good for sure, but install is the entry for all of the activities inside the app, right? But it's not the best. We should combine install campaign with other types of campaigns to drive higher quality users for the apps and also to drive the retention rate. So why don't we have to think beyond install campaign? We all know the challenge of our tools and utilities developers that we need to acquire a large users volume. The more users, the more we can gain revenue, right? And we cannot optimize towards ROAS as we don't have enough data to measure our users' lifetime value, especially for ad-funded ads. It's very hard for the developer to measure that number. So that I know that all of us choose to focus on CPI target instead, like only focus on the install campaign. And how we resolve this challenge? The way we approach this challenge is to run action campaign. This campaign optimized toward a specific in-app event. It's not only drive the install, but also drive the in-app action, which will help us to acquire higher quality users and bring better retention at scale. And you can see in the chart below, there's 4 charts. And this is the case from one of our Southeast Asia developers. For all 4 charts, the green line is day one retention, red line is day 7 retention, and the yellow line is day 14 retention. And the first chart on your left-hand side show the result when we run install campaign. You can see the red line and yellow line falling off after a bit of time, like falling off like almost immediately after we acquire the users, which means that the users quality is not good enough. But as the client, as the developer started moving toward to deeper funnel events to optimize toward for which are the three charts. You can see the uptick in the retention rate for 7 days and for 14 days. So what is our mission? Our mission is to trying to move from the left-hand side, which is only in-store campaign, to the right-hand side, where you can get more valuable users and can gain more retention rate, and those users will be the ones who stick around our apps. And in general, we have 6 types of app promo campaign to choose to run. The pre-registration, maximize conversation, in-store campaign, action, target ROAS, and engagement. With this, we will go deep dive into each type of campaign with Harry. He will show you how to run it effectively and how to set up it.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chi, for sharing. Next, I will be walking through with you the different type of campaigns and then how you can set up in the Google Ads system. So the first campaign type I want to share with you is app campaign for pre-registration. So it's a campaign type that helps you get your game or app in front of consumers before it's officially released. So going next, so if you can see, this is how it looks like in the Google Ads dashboard. So for this campaign type, what you need to do is set your app in the pre-registration phase on the Play Store. And then once it's available in the Google Play Store, you can come to the Google Ads dashboard to set up the campaign. And then choose the campaign type of pre-registration. And then in terms of the bidding type, you will be bidding on the cost per pre-registration basis. And then in terms of the best practice, it's recommended for you to put the CPA for pre-registration at 1 to 2 times of the CPI benchmark to accelerate the learning. So that's the app campaign for pre-registration. Next is the maximize conversions campaign type. So for this campaign type, it will help you automatically set the right bids to provide the highest conversion volume at scale for the budget. So how you can set it up in the Google Ads dashboard is as follows. So when in the campaign setup page, choose the install volume and then choose the download event you want to track, and then choose all users. So remember to untick this set a target cost per install. So that's how you can set up maximize conversion campaign types. And in terms of the bidding practice, it's recommended for you to have enough budget to cover at least 300 installs over 30 days. And in terms of the usage scenarios, the following 3 are the main scenarios that you could consider launching your app with maximized conversion campaign type. So the first one is when you consider launching a new title. So if you're launching a new app, this is the right product for you to help explore what's the right CPI in different markets. So you can set a minimum daily budget and then supply your campaign with all the available creative text, image, and video, and then let the system run it for a few days, and then you will get a CPI that the system are able to get you a good amount of volume. And then you can then transition it to a normal install campaign. The second usage scenario is when you add new content to an existing app. So the time where new updates are coming to your app, you could utilize the maximize conversion campaign type to accelerate the learning and then emphasize your new updates to the new users. And last but not least, aligning with a seasonal push. So we all know that for the tools and utilities vertical, the eCPM will determine a lot for your revenue. So when the big holiday season comes, you want to get your app installed on users' app ahead of time. So maximize conversion campaign type is a good campaign type for you to plan ahead for that. The next campaign type I want to share with you is the app campaign for in-stores. So this is the most commonly used campaign type to help you find users who are likely to install your app at a target cost per install price. So next is how it looks like in the Google Ads dashboard. So you will need to first choose the focus on install volume, and then choose all users, and then you can specify a target cost per install price. So in terms of the best practices to set up this campaign, it's recommended for you to set a budget of at least 50 times your targeted cost per install. And then it's recommended for you to not make any changes until you get at least 300 installs for the campaign. So that's the normal install campaign type. The other install campaign type that you will see in the Google Ads dashboard is app campaign for install advanced. So it's a campaign type to help you find new users who are likely to complete a selected in-app event at a set TCPI and budget. So this is how it looks like in the dashboard. So in turn, instead of focusing on all the users, so if you have linked your third-party analytics or Firebase with Google Ads, you will be able to see all the available in-app actions under this page, and then you can choose one action that matters more to your business. So for this campaign type, the main focus is still on driving user at scale, but with some focus on the new users that may likely complete certain in-app action. The next campaign type I want to share with you is the app campaign for actions. So it's a campaign type to help you find new users who complete a selected in-app event at a target cost per acquisition and budget. So the following is how it looks like in the Google Ads dashboard. So if you switch to the next slide. So for this campaign type, instead of focusing on install volume, you will choose in-app action. And then you will need to link your third-party tracking analytics provider or Firebase with Google Ads so that you can see a list of all the available in-app action that you have imported to the Google Ads system. And then you will be able to specify a CPA here. So for this campaign type, the core focus is to help you find new users who are likely to complete certain in-app event. So we recommend you to choose an in-app event that's highly correlated to your business goal. So say, for example, if you make majority of your revenue from ads monetization, you should choose an event that's similar, like people viewing certain number of interstitial ads, or people watch certain number of maybe banner ads or rewarded video ads. In terms of the bidding practice, it's recommended. So if you go back to the last slide, so in terms of the bidding best practice, it's recommended for you to set a budget of at least 10 times your cost per acquisition target, and to ensure that your campaign can bring at least 10 in-app events per day, so that the system can have more data to optimize your campaigns. And going to the next, a new campaign type which I want to introduce you is the target return on ad spend campaign type. So this campaign type allows you to maximize in-app actions at a target return on ad spend, getting one step closer to your revenue and profit goal. So please take note that this feature is exclusive for Google Analytics for Firebase clients. You will need to integrate Firebase in order to see this option available in your Google Ads account. So next, this is how it shows up in the Google Ads dashboard. So instead of choosing install volume as well as in-app action, you will be choosing in-app action value for this campaign type. And then you will need to choose a core in-app event that you want to focus on. And then we recommend you to focus choosing an event that's highly relevant to your revenue. So most commonly used events are in-app purchase event or subscription-related events. And then instead of specifying a CPA bid for this campaign type, you will be specifying a percentage return. So that's the return that you want the system to achieve. So you can define a percentage here. So say, for example, you can give it like a 10%. So you will be based on the conversion window you have set for your in-app action or like subscription event. And the system will try to bring you users who are likely to achieve this 10% return within the time frame you've set in your conversion event. So in terms of like bidding best practice, first of all, please remember to integrate Firebase to your app to start utilizing this feature. And secondly, make sure that there's sufficient in-app events from the past month, 30 days, to get the system more signals to optimize your campaigns. And make sure you have at least you have at least tried the TCPA campaign and you have some comparable data there so that you can better define your targeted return on ad spend. And if your main revenue comes from ad monetization, we also offer customized solutions to guide you how you could utilize this campaign type. So please reach out to your respective account manager and growth manager to further help you on this. And going next, the last campaign type I want to share with you is the app campaign for engagement. So it's a campaign type to help you re-engage users across Google's largest properties. So how it looks like in the dashboard is as follows. So if you go to the next page, yeah. So for this campaign type, when choosing the specific campaign, you can choose app engagement during the campaign setup page, and then the rest will be similar to how you set up the in-app action campaigns. You can define a CPA to target existing users who are likely to complete certain in-app event. So the key difference between the app campaigns for engagement and then app campaign for action is that the app campaign for action are mainly campaign types that help you drive new users to install your app. Whereas for the app campaign for engagement, it's a campaign type to help you find to help you retarget existing users who will likely perform certain in-app action. So that's a quick overview of all the campaign types you could utilize to scale your business. Next, let me pass the time to Chi to share with you how you could properly utilize tracking solutions to better track your metrics.
Thank you, Harry. Now we know that we have more options to choose instead of only running in-store campaign, right? There are more types of campaign that we can run to acquire higher quality users for our app. And we always have the questions in our mind that which one or which type of campaign is the best one, how to measure the successful accurately, and how we know that it is more effective than in-store campaigns. So in order to do that, we have to set up a measurement tool from the beginning to track all of the metrics happening in our apps. And there are different tools in the market for sure, but we can leverage on Flybase tool, which is free, and it can provide all of the features you need from the beginning of the app development to marketing purpose. And once you have Flybase SDK integrated in your app, you can easily link it with your Google Ads and turn all of the insight into marketing action. And for example, which is in the in-app events that we should optimize toward, or identify which countries are deliver good ROAS that we should invest more, and more benefits that Flybase can offer to you. Hopefully after this section that you can think of something more rather than just focus on in-store campaigns, because Google always deliver and offer different types of solutions that fit your marketing strategy and your business purpose. And we are working in the technology industry, and we should always try new things and learn from that, right? Hopefully that we can get more idea from this section. And with this, I would like to pass it back to Harry for the last part.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chi, for sharing. Next, let me invite Sandy from our Google Play policy team to walk you guys through some of the policy update and things that you should consider when publishing your app. Sandy,
Yeah.
you are muted at the moment.
Okay, yeah, I got it. So hi everyone, nice to meet you. I'm Sandy from Google Play Policy team, and I'm very happy to meet you all here and share the policy guidance with you on behalf of my team. So hope you can learn more about Play policy after today's session. Okay. So before we start, I would like to share a few things to keep in mind that for this part, please do not record the session or click slides as the content, because this content is Google's proprietary. And the content that we will be discussing today is meant only for those of you who join the live session. It's a very cherished opportunity for you. So sharing anything about this event on social network is not recommended. Again, this is a live-only session, so the content for the Play policy part will not be available for viewing later on. So thank you for your understanding and cooperation in advance. And we hope that we can provide more sessions like this talking about the policy in the future. So please do cooperate with this guidance. And otherwise, we might not be able to share or present any policy-related things with you in the future. Okay, so let's take a look at our agenda for policy today. So I will introduce our trust and safety team and policy principle, and then I will take you to view our key policy themes and common violation types among tools and utilities at the developers. And I will share the IO updates this year about Play policy. Finally, we'll share some best practice and helpful resources, and hope that can help you to deal with policy issues easily. So let's get started. I know it's a quite long session. So first, let me introduce the trust and safety team's principles. So user trust is the foundation of everything we do. So before you start any app business, do keep in mind that this sentence in your mind. So, and it's also our mission. Our mission is to ensure a safe and trustworthy ecosystem for all users and developers through transparency. So key to that mission is maintaining the safety and integrity of Google Play as a trusted source of high quality apps for users to find and experience apps and games to enjoy. So in partnership with developers, we regularly update and consistently enforce our policies to keep users and developers safe, as well as preserve trust in the ecosystem. And here is more context about how we review your apps. So with the number of experts and technology, we conduct policy enforcement in a smart way. We are proactive in our approach to identify emerging threats. As a part of our policy review, our ops team located across the globe continually monitor, analyze, and take action against bad actors. Not to mention the manual work, we develop automated ways to defending against policy violation and invalid traffic. So we work worldwide to maintain and protect the quality of our ecosystem. Our team includes a diverse set of people from data scientists, engineers, a lot of experts and app reviewers and more. And we use a combination of human and automatic reviews, provide scalable automated defense to identify and clean and defend our platform. We cannot disclose our exact number, but we have over 3,000 employees dedicated to protect this ecosystem. So hope this intro gave you a clear idea about how the team operates and what are our core values. Before I wrap up, I would like to also highlight our team's focus area of this year. So first is privacy. As you can see, and you may know that privacy is a very hot topic issues among lots of talk recently in this industry. So privacy is definitely one. And the security, this is around protecting users from malwares or phishing by using new machine learning models. So we can prevent that users be harmed by some bad behaviors from the bad developers. And finally, the families that we are committed to providing a safer and more positive environment for children and families by helping the parents finding enriching content for kids. So I think that you guys can keep in mind that those pillars will be our key focus this year. So a lot of updates and our enforcement will be focused more on those pillars. Okay, so our policy are designed to deliver apps and games safely to billions of people worldwide. So I suggest that you can visit our Google Play Policy Center for more information. And this site is available in 47 languages. So you definitely can find some the one that's suitable for you. So you can see here in our policy center, there are 10 themes of policies covering different aspects of apps and your app's lifecycle. And we can divide them into 3 parts. It's content, monetization, and behavior. So first, for content, you have to make sure that your content is unique and valuable to play users with safe and helpful to all ages users. Also, you can't impersonate others' apps or infringe on the IP rights of others. It's for sure, right? And when you start to grow your app users and monetize with your apps, you have to make sure that follow our payment policies and ads monetization policy. Also, how you promote your apps and how you write the wordings on your store listing pages. Last but not least, how your app works in the backend is also very important, especially privacy, like I mentioned before, and the permission part, or if your app is using malware or mouse to harm the users. And this also includes the third-party SDK you use. So it's your responsibility ability to make sure that the SDKs you use are compliant to our policy. So please be sure to check your SDK or with your SDK providers if they provide a compliant version. Otherwise, your app might be taken down. So keep in mind that our policies are not static or frozen in time. They continue to evolve as we see the marketplace evolve and the trends become visible within the developer and user communities. So when we introduce a new policies or changes to existing policy, it is always with the interest of our user in mind. And a lot of people often ask us how we decide to change policy. And I can clearly tell you that we are listening to users and prioritizing their strongest feedbacks. So user is our first place. We are committed to keeping you informed of these changes through our regular channels, such as emails, blog posts, videos on YouTube, and notification on Play Console. But it's definitely a best practice to visit our developer policy center on a regular basis. I would suggest that you need to check there monthly, or if you can go there daily to check our policy and read it. It will be very, very good practice for your team. And the next, let's take a look about some common violation types that we found among app hack tools app developers. We will talk about 5 policies today. So the first, IP. So for this policy, I don't think I have to elaborate more. It's very wrong to copy others' logo or others' brand name and to harm others' IP rights. So like I mentioned before, you have to respect IP rights of others and be careful when using any third-party IP in your apps. So if you really have some contents in your app includes a third-party IP, we suggest that you can have a clear communication or a clear proof from the IP site. And then when you publish your apps, please, you can provide advance notes to our appeals team, so we will know that you have the right to use this IP. So we won't take you down because of this reason. Otherwise, the IP site might sue you, and your app might be taken down. And if you want to report any app, like apps that copy your apps, there's a way. Here is g.co/legal that you can report app here. And the second is about spam. There are several types of spam: the message, the web view, and the affiliate and repetitive contents. So for the message, I think that the apps that send SMS, email, or other message on behalf of the user without giving the user the ability to confirm in the content the intended recipient is a very serious violation, actually. Yeah, so please don't do that. And for the web view and affiliate spam, I think it's quite common when you use some ads monetization way that you will direct users to some affiliate or some traffic to some website to get some traffic without their permission. So it is also prohibited. So please don't do that too. And for the repetitive contents, that I think is quite common among the tools and utilities developer, because if you develop some tools apps that is not very different from others already sits in the marketplace, that your apps might be categorized as a repetitive content. Otherwise, if your app has a very unique and create some very unique value feature for the users, it's something that we are more welcome on the Google Play Marketplace. So please don't do the apps that merely just provide the same experience as other apps already on Google Play. And I know that most of you might use the ads monetization. So here's some examples for other spam topics, which is related to ads monetization. So we don't allow ads blocks the screen, and user can proceed with the game and app. Also, the user has to click a certain button to dismiss the ads. It's not allowed. If your ads experience design is like this, as the screen on the left, your apps might be suspended because you violated this spam policies. And the third one is the mouse. So it's a mobile unwanted software. Since I don't think I need to elaborate more, because this is something that will harm our Android ecosystem on Google Play. So for the mouse, it's include that if you want to let me say this way. So we want to protect users from harmful or deceptive software. So you might need to be very transparent behavior and clear to disclose that what you are doing in your app. So and what you provide the feature for your app users. And also that we want you to protect user data, because that user trusts you and download your app. So you need to be clear and transparent about the access, use, collection, and sharing the user data, and handle user data securely. So some example violation here is that the spyware, or you just restricted the permission abuse. And the last one about this policy is do not harm the mobile experience, that the user's experience should be straightforward, easy to understand, and based on the clear choices made by the user. So like disruptive ads that you just put some fake icons or fake warnings here, it's not allowed. And the fourth one is metadata. I think some of you might get violated on this policy. It's about how you write your store listing page and how you design your app titles. I know that you want to optimize your store listing pages to get a good ranking or increase organic traffic. However, if you do too much, too over, that you might violate the metadata policy. So the common type of violation on metadata is that you might use some unattributed or user testimony here, like the example, and you have some data comparison of apps or brands, but it's not easy or not difficult for you to bring the proof that you have this kind of data. And the other thing is, like, for example, the word blocks and vertical horizontal word list, and some sexually suggestive content and graphic violence is something that we prohibit here as well. So please do check that how you design your content and assets on your app store listing pages. That last but not least, the user data. So I guess that you guys know that privacy and security will be our key focus this year, as I mentioned. So how you handle users' data and transparency to communicate it with users are very important. As a developer, you have the responsibility to protect users' data and ask users before you access or collect user data. So you can see the common violation type here is that you don't clearly disclose what you do. For example, you collect, use, and share the data, but you only disclose that you collect and use the data. So it violates the policy because you didn't disclose everything, include that you share the data too. So for the other things for prominent disclosures, which is that you have to pop up and ask the user to agree that you use their data here. So the good things that we suggest you to do is that the prominent disclosures, it must be within the app and must be displayed in the normal usage of the app, and must describe the data being accessed or collected or other action you take, and must explain how the data will be used. So the one thing to keep in mind here is that make sure your prominent disclosure and privacy policy, they are adequate. Otherwise, your app is still in violation, because maybe you say that already that in prominent disclosure you will collect, use, and share the data. However, in privacy policy, you just mentioned you are collecting use, and it's not equal to each other, so it's still violates. That's a very small thing, but I hope that you can take care more, be careful more on the privacy and permission things here. Okay, so for the next part, I will share with you some IO updates about Play policy this year. So what we heard from the developers complain about the policy part is that there's no central place for violations and enforcements, and you need more guidance on how to correct the violations, and you want more notice about deadlines. So here comes some updates. So the new policy status pages allow you to manage your app compliance issues in one central location. You can find it under policy and programs in the left-hand navigation. This page shows you if there are any enforcements against your app, such as rejection, removal, or suspension. You can also find a copy of the email you received about a violation and how to fix it. And the next, you want to get more detail about the policy violations, right? So we've also recently added the ability to appeal an enforcement decision directly from Google Play Console and track its status from this page. So before this updates, you have to submit an appeal form outside of Google Play Console, and you might missing some key information there. So it will cause some appeals, non-actionable appeals for our team, and we cannot provide guidance for you. But after this updates, I think that it will be more easier for you to file appeals and track the appeals status. And soon you will be able to see warnings on the policy status page as well. In this new section, we will give you advance notice or reminders about potential policy violations and information on how to address them before the enforcement occurs. Yeah, I know that the suspension of the app is really harmful to your business. So to avoid that, please be sure to check if any warnings is expired soon, and please do take action before the enforcement occurs. And your inbox is also another place where we let you know about new policies and any policy related issue. So be sure to check it often so you don't miss any important messages. And one thing here to highlight that please be sure that your primary email contact is live. Otherwise, our email sent to that alias, nobody in your company will receive that. So please do refresh that if the primary email contact is not used anymore. So the next part, to help you optimize your app publishing experience, we'd like to share some best practice. So first, like I said, about appeal process. When you receive any enforcement email from us, please don't be panicked. We understand that your app may contain policy violating contents unintentionally, and we are here to help resolve the problem with you, because we also don't want to see your precious app or games getting removed from Play Store. Once you get a notification from us, and if you review the policy and feel our decision may have been in error, please reach out to our policy support team. We will get back to you within 2 to 7 business days. And again, please be mindful that our response could be slower than normal during this recent COVID period. Yeah. I would suggest that if you really don't understand the policy violation or want to ask more details, please do appeals. Otherwise, we cannot help you to address or solve your problems. And therefore, to avoid extra back and forth emails, please explain the reason thoroughly and submit the relevant documents whatever required for accelerated review. Otherwise, you have to wait for our feedback and response to our questions and provide more context. It will take a lot of business days for you to solve the problems. So please keep in mind that. And lastly, we also understand that the urgency of the problem when you receive an enforcement notice from us, but please do not submit duplicated appeals. This will only slow down the process because our agents need to process all the appeals from the developers globally. And if you submit the duplicate appeals, it's just increase their workload. It won't help you to quick review on your appeals. So please do not submit the duplicate appeals. And the next one, if you found an app violating the developer distribution agreement, such as copyright or trademark, please let us know by sending a request via here, g.co/legal, which I mentioned before. On the other hand, to avoid your app being enforced with the IP policy violation, please make sure to use the advance notice feature from Google Play console when you publish your app and do submit a proof of permission. The app review team accepts an advance notice about your upcoming app or store listing publishing event. And you may fill out the form via this short link, or you just scan this QR code in the slides, or you just Google the Google Play advance notice form, and you will get the results. And here is the other takedown that you can flag the inappropriate apps. It's different from the legal one. This one is that if you found some content or some promotion assets is very inappropriate content, and you can report those apps here. It's not something about legal or trademark things. It's more about the content itself. And the next one is that if you found some reviews under your apps, you think it's inappropriate or it's some unfriendly attack, that you can report the reviews that violate Google Play comment posting policy directly from the Play console. Here you can see the steps here. So you can open the console and go to the review pages and select the flag icon to report the reviews that you think is appropriate. And the last practice for you is that as you might experience from this year, that or maybe from last year, our app review timeline is longer than before. So the officially that we will need 7 business days or longer if your app is really includes some very complicated features. So so please keep in mind and do take this app review time into your publishing timeline. Otherwise, your app might not be able to be online as you wish. And for appeals, like I just said before, the normal SLA is about 2 business days. It's around 48 hours. So please be patient. Your cases, you submit that, we will review, and we definitely will reply to you. Okay, the last part, I want to share some helpful resources. So please take advantage of our free training on g.co/play-academy/policy for more info on policy foundation and deep dives I mentioned today. There's courses there that you can test your knowledge as well. And also to check the past and recent policy updates, please watch the Google Play Policy Bites video in the Android Developers YouTube channel. The Policy Bites video talk about in-depth explanation of policy and some examples about how to be compliant and some non-compliant screenshots and enforcement timelines. So I suggest that you subscribe that channel so you can get the most updated policy announcements. Okay, please also visit the Trust and Safety Play page here, or scan the QR code in this slide if you want to know more information about our team and how the Play Policy team works. Last but not least, here are some key resources that you might want to look into. That's it for today, and this was all the content we wish to share with you to bring you up to speed to this latest updates. Hope you found them useful. Thank you. I'll pass back to Harry.
Thank you so much, Santi, for sharing. So next we will be going to the Q&A session. So before we go into the Q&A session, please help scan this QR code and then fill out the form to help provide your feedback for today's live stream. So your feedback is very important to us, and then we will try to send out the slides on the sessions that we are available to share if you fill out the feedback form. So let me invite speakers back to stage to help answer some of the questions. Yeah. So the first question that we have is from TV Cast Studio. So besides United States large market for tools and utilities, I want to scale to another bigger tier country, but it seems as not easy as the way we join the US market. Can we have some advice on this? So maybe Neil, you can help answer on this one.
Sure, Harry. So thank you for asking this question. And I think I mentioned like 4 markets, and I'm still going to talk about the 4 markets. The only difference is we need to look if the app is primarily trying to monetize through an IAP or an IAA function. So if it's an IAP other than the US, we would definitely suggest the UK market. As we showed previously, it's not only the largest market in Europe, but it's actually the second largest revenue earning market in tools and utilities worldwide. So after the US, it has to be UK. If it's an IAA app, in-app ads, we would definitely suggest India and Indonesia. Firstly, because of the scale, because the number of downloads in these countries are the highest in the world. Also, as I mentioned, another quick point about India, there were a lot of tools and utilities apps last year that went out of the market, and there's still it's now a blue ocean market where it's fairly easy to enter into the market, and the CPAs are also fairly low. So these are some quick pointers that I'd like to give. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Neil. So next question is from Mohsin. The first one is like push notifications also in a messenger spam category. And second one is how we can check trademarks of text and images on Google Play so that we will not violate it unintentionally. Sandy, maybe you can help answer this one.
Yeah, so the first one, I think the push notification that it depends on how you do that. So if you do just like, for example, use Firebase and use some normal way to push this to the users, and you have their consent on that, how you will do this. But you don't not just send a message to other third party without their permission, I think it's to be okay. But if you push too much notification, it might cause some bad experience for the users. So I think that it depends on how you do that in your app. And the second question is that how we can check marks for text and images on Google Play. I think that for some big IP or a very famous icon that you are aware in the market, that definitely will be something might cause this kind of issues. So if you are really have some concerns about the trademarks or the text, that I would suggest that you avoid that to just copy or use a very similar icons of those big IPs. And the second thing is that I would suggest you can use our manage publishing feature in Google Play Console, because that's the feature that can make you to control when the app is publishing to the public, and when you upload your new APK to our Google Play Console, our review will start. So you can know that if your app is compliant or not before your app is published. So that could be a solution for you to check if your app is compliant. Yeah, and my suggestion is that do the research and find your local government website to see if there's any information about trademark. That because every trademark need to register for legal or some legal documents, right? So you can find this information in your government website. I think there will have some information about that. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you so much, Sandy. The next question is how to improve revenue of in-app purchase from Google Play use. It's from Foxcode Company. Chi, maybe I can ask your help to answer this one.
Yeah, sure, I can take it. So in order to improve the revenue, we have to look for the high quality users. So instead of running only in-store campaign, we should run different types of campaigns, such as action campaign, optimizing toward the in-app action, which is in-app purchase, or you can run TROAS, which is target on the return on ad spend, so that you can gain more high quality users, and with that you can improve your revenue.
Cool. Thank you, Chi. The next question from QTOM's InfoSoft is neat idea about new categories which is trending now or maybe grown in future. Maybe Olivia, I can ask your help to help answer this one.
Sure. So we can categorize our new categories into several levels. If you consider the current market size, we will suggest, for example, the VPN, download and file sharing, and also the scanners. And if you consider the growth, and also you want to, for example, to treat for them low user acquisition market, and it has targeted audience or large user base, you could consider the remote control and also some barcode scanners and antivirus. And also, if you look for some niche categories, you want to be the top competitors or not many developers in that areas, you could consider, for example, the task and apps management apps, and also location tracking, or privacy and security tools, which has the fastest growth rate during the last 2 years, and not that many developers under this areas. So just based on your needs, you can select it. You want to select market size or growth rate or some niche categories. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Olivia. The next question from Agri-Info Design is that I would like to know how to get people to continue using the app. So maybe Neil or Chi, can ask your help.
Yeah, I can just go quickly first. So let's assume that I assume this question is about user retention. So first of all, we can target certain countries and verticals that are known to show higher retention. For example, Olivia shared previously that scanners in India have a much higher retention rate than other geos. So that's one point. The second point is uplifting product quality. And when I mean by product quality, there are two major pillars in this. One is improving product depth, and the second one is localization. So when I say product depth, let's take an example of a video editing app. If they have 5 to 10 features and their competitors have 20, 30 features, it's very tough to stand out and compete with such major apps. So having more features and feature depth is extremely important. The second pillar that I talk about is localization. If you want to enter foreign markets, it's extremely important to localize the app, not only in terms of the language, but also in terms of the culture as well as the UI UX. We've seen a lot of apps actually never do this, and it becomes a very big issue in retaining users because the app's product quality / localization is not there. So I think I can pass it back to Harry.
Yeah, thank you, Neil. I think we have a live question from the live stream as well. It's from Tui. For an app in the ad-funded category, when running an in-app action ad campaign, which events should be targeted and what's the bidding price for that? So maybe I can quickly walk you through this question. So I think in terms of the event that you should choose events that are highly correlated to ad revenue. Say, for example, the number of interstitial number of banner ads watched, and then in terms of the bidding price, then you will see what's the actual user value behind the what's the percentage of conversion rate to that specific event from installs. So say, for example, if your install CPI is $1, and then there's 50% conversion rate to the event that you want to optimize for, then maybe you can consider setting up a $2 CPI for that specific event. Cool. I think that's all the questions we have for today. Thanks everyone for tuning in for the event, and then thanks all the presenters today for sharing with us the insights. Just as a reminder, please help us scan this QR code to fill your feedback, and then we will be sharing with you the slides if you fill in this form. Again, thank you so much, and then this is the end of our live stream. Hope you have a nice day, and then see you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.